So, can you hear me? Yeah? Lovely. Last time it wasn't turned on. I don't know if you saw it. Thank you. So, good evening, Hull. My name is Maria Botel. I am a councillor for East Riding of Yorkshire Council, and I live in Bridlington, sunny Bridlington. A Brid Skid. So what am I doing here? You might have to ask God on that one. But I am going to hopefully give you a little bit of background. One, a little bit about me. Two, why I think we're all here. And generally just introduce the big man himself. So I'll start off. So I got involved in politics a few years ago. I started seeing things I didn't like. I have a son who I care deeply about. And for me, I couldn't shout at the TV any longer. It wasn't having an effect. Ranting to my friends also was not really proving very fruitful. So I stepped into politics, and it was about a year ago today that I decided to join Reform UK. Part of that decision was very easy, and part of it was quite difficult. And I think it's only got easier and easier because the more people I meet within Reform and the more people who I meet in general doing what I do as a councillor, the more I realise people are noticing the difference that Reform can bring versus the same old uni party, the same old career politicians, the self-serving, virtue signalling, shallow politics that we've all come to despise, put it that way. And for me, Reform, when I went to Doncaster last year, it was February, I realised when I saw that draft contract, this is a party that I want to stand with. And I'm here tonight really to ask all of you, wonderful people of Hull and East Yorkshire, to get behind our candidate, because it will not be fought by one person alone. We all need to fight. Every single person in this room and every person you speak to who has any passion for this country and this area needs to stand up and say, Reform is the answer. And there's a lot of noise from small minorities and groups of people who are pushing an agenda for positive discrimination. It's just discrimination. We're all people, and Reform is the party that wants to unite the people of this great nation and of this great area. We are salt and light. We are the people who have a voice, and if we stop using our voice, we will not be able to use it any longer. And that is the scary truth. Free speech, it's been said numerous times, and I truly believe it, is under threat in this country. So as daunting as it is to stand here, I know that if I can stand here and inspire one person, anybody could. I will say my son got asked at school the other week, who inspires you most? And he said, he nearly put me. And I was like, just the fact he nearly put me really actually made my heart swell a little bit. But do you know who he put? Nigel. And I look back at all the people in history who have inspired me and others, and I feel like, why not me? I am just a Yorkshire girl. I come from a nice family. I've got history in fishing and all sorts of weird and wonderful jobs. And people who are in this area, I love you all. You're willing to work 12-hour shifts to put food on the table. Hiya. I'm seeing people I know. You work long shifts. You do basic tasks, complicated tasks. There's innovation. We're we're an area that produces so much food for this country and so much energy for this country. They would be nothing without us. And we need to be one of those areas that stands up and says, this is what a reform mayor can do for this country. So we need to get a reform mayor elected. And that will take all of you knocking on doors and delivering leaflets at 6 o'clock in the morning on the day to make sure everyone actually bothers to go out and vote. Do you know what the amount of people who usually turn out and vote in local elections? Whatever you're thinking, it's probably lower. It really is. But I think if we can motivate, we can put the people's army out there, you can all get out there and do your own streets, tell your colleagues, tell your friends, down the pub, go to church, tell everyone you meet that you're not afraid to say you stand with reform, you stand with our candidate, and actually you will not be silenced, you will not be downtrodden, and you will not be disrespected any longer, because we are the backbone, and we have a backbone. And we're going to show them what reform can do in this area, because who are we going to elect? We're going to elect a reform mayor. And I'm not saying it's an easy task, because reform generally doesn't have the greatest reputation, but I cannot see why. Because we are creative, we are strong, independent, noisy, funny, patriotic, British people who care. So please wear your hats, your badges, wave your flags, and don't be ashamed to say you stand with reform. And I would like you all to practice standing up and speaking out when you hear things that are not right in any walk of life. I forgot what else I was talking about. Oh, I haven't really talked about myself. Do you want to know anything else about me? I'm a councillor, so I'm really looking forward to having a reform mayor. I will be supporting the mayor. And I really, really do pray that it's going to be a reform mayor. The candidate we've got is fantastic. I'm excited to be a part and to be invited here tonight. And if you think this girl from Bridlington who got involved in politics a couple of short years ago, who is stood here wondering why, then it really could be you next year, believe it or not. And I will go back to Nigel, because he's been a big inspiration, not just for my son, but also my dad. And when I first met him, he was very kind and polite to me, even though I embarrassed myself. I'll tell you that story another day. But for me, Nigel is the man who's going to be our next Prime Minister. And it is... It's true. And it's a tremendous honour for me to be here in front of you all. And it's a tremendous honour for me to introduce the next Prime Minister of the United Kingdom, Nigel Farage.
Whoa! Good evening, Hull! That is just about the most extraordinary reception I've ever had anywhere. Thank you so very much indeed. In fact, I mean, it's so overwhelming, I'm almost feeling shy. Well, not really. Do you know, I spent many, many years, and I've been to Hull many times and campaigned, I spent over a quarter of a century on a political campaign that everybody told me was a complete and utter waste of time. Nigel, you're wasting your time. Britain will never leave the European Union. But you know what? I kept on going. I kept on going year after year after year. And you know why? Because I believed in this country. I believed that the incredible sacrifices of those that went before us so that we could be a free country should be honoured. And that the best people to govern Britain were the British people themselves. That's what I fought for. That's what Brexit was. And, you know, what joy it was to stand. So the Brexit vote happens, everyone's in shock, especially in Brussels, where they're in meltdown. Boring. And they announce, boring, boring, boring. Come on, you've got to be a proper protester to get that from me. There were some outside I saw earlier. But you know what? You know what? There's more of us in here than there were of them out there, that's for certain. Anyway, so the European Parliament announced there'd be an emergency debate. I thought, well, this is quite a moment. I thought, 3 o'clock, it'll be me and Jean-Claude Juncker, the Commission President. You might remember the man who was rarely sober. I liked him very much because he made me realise I hadn't got a drink problem, you know. Anyway, so I think, well, I'll get in to the top of the Parliament at about 2.5 minutes to 3. It'll be full, and I can make my modest entrance in, you know. And to my surprise, Juncker was there already, standing in the well of the Parliament. And as I went down, he sort of put his arms out, and he sort of gave me a hug. They do quite a lot of that in Europe. And he whispered in my ear, "You bastard." But he didn't mean it nastily. And I was able to stand up and say, when I first came here 17.5 years ago, you all laughed at me when I said, "You're not laughing now, are you?" Well, that wasn't the end of the story because, as you know, the British establishment wouldn't accept it. The agony went on for year after year after year. We had that ghastly little pipsqueak Bercow in the Commons doing his best to disrupt it. People like our Prime Minister, Sir Keir Starmer. Oh, and I thought Hull was a Labour area. No, you missed the point. Was a Labour area. It's going to be a Reform area. In the end, it happened. And we stood in Parliament Square on the 31st of January 2020 with 100,000 people. And I did the countdown, the 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. The obligatory fireworks. I mean, there's no event worth doing without fireworks, obviously. And that was it. We were out. And I thought, you know what? After all these years of struggling, of fighting the establishment, of really giving up a vast amount of my life, you know, it's now time for me to say goodbye. I've done it. I've done it. The British people are now back in charge of their own country, and I'm going to retire. And so I did. I stepped away from politics, and life was good. More time to go fishing, more time down the pub. more time with family, spent a lot of time helping get GB News up and running and off the ground. But I just could not abide the fact that whilst we had control of our country back, it was being run by people who frankly didn't believe in the Brexit mission, who told us a total pack of lies and failed to deliver it. And I think that 2019 to 2024 Conservative government goes down perhaps as the most disappointing, the most dishonest government we've ever had in the history of our nation. And so I thought, well, Labour are going to win the election. They're bound to. But do I come back? Do I get back involved in the game? And I agonised over it because I knew that it meant getting back into politics would be everything. And that day, I was coming up on the 3rd of June from Kent into London in the car, thinking, why am I doing this? Do I need my bumps filled? And I thought, why am I doing it? And I came up with 3 words. And they've become the emblem. They've become the slogan for this party. I came back into politics because I believe in family, community, and country, and I see those things as being under threat, and we're going to fight for all of them. We're going to fight for good values. Our country has never been in graver problems internally. We are getting poorer. The average Brit is getting poorer. The cost of living is destroying the ability of many families to live reasonable lives. We are in societal decline. Crime completely out of control. Here in Hull, crime 25% higher than the national average. People scared to go out after dark. The police force, who seem to be more concerned about what we say on social media more concerned than maybe the Labour MP for Runcorn, who at 2 o'clock in the morning doesn't just strike someone in the street, but hits him 5 times on the ground. And what happens today at appeal? We're told the prison sentence is to be suspended. I guess that's because he's part of the Labour Party and part of the ruling class, and we saw it after the riots last summer. Different groups of people being treated differently. That is not what this country is all about. I will not live with 2-tier policing and 2-tier justice. Everybody must be treated the same. And this morning, we've had the immigration figures. Oh, yes. What do they tell us at every election? We're going to drastically reduce the numbers. What do we get today? Well, here's the really shocking thing. There is over 100,000 people claimed asylum in Britain last year, but only 32% of them came on boats. It's mind-blowing, isn't it? The rest have come in the back of lorries. The rest have come and overstayed their welcome. Some have come as students, and they all give a reason for claiming asylum. The boats are a massive problem, and they highlight the unfairness of what is going on in this country. I was checking in at Heathrow last week. I was off to America for a couple of days. I've got a friend over there that's doing all right. And the guy that checked me in, Indian bloke, he said, Mr. Farage, stop the boats. He said, we came here legally, we integrated, and we worked damned hard. It's not fair. It's not right. And then we get the legal immigration figures, and blow me down, nearly another 1 million people have been given permanent visas to come into Britain. Our population has increased by over 10 million in the last 20 years, and you wonder why the roads are busy. You wonder why you can't get GP appointments. You wonder why in some parts of the country, kids age 5 are bussed 20 miles to find a primary school that's actually got room for them. And you wonder why our kids can't afford houses or get houses, or the social housing waiting list is as long as it is. The increase in population, this massive increase in population, has actually damaged the quality of life of every single one of us in this country, and both Labour and Conservative are to blame. And even the argument, oh, Nigel, don't worry, everyone that comes is coming into work, so they're contributing. We learned that the last 3 million that came in under the Conservatives from around the rest of the world, of the last 3 million, only 22% are working. The rest, you and everybody else, is paying for. This is making us poorer. It is unacceptable. It has nothing to do with race or prejudice. It has to do with plain common sense. And we will. Believe me, if we make the progress I think we can make, we will deal with it. And then there's the cost of living and jobs. Unbelievable. I met a chief executive the other day, a man that employs a lot of people. He said in 1990, my energy costs were exactly the same as America. Today, my energy costs are 6 times that of what an American factory is paying. We have closed down all of our aluminium smelting. We have closed down most of our chemical production. We have closed down virtually all of our primary steelmaking capacity, Scunthorpe just about surviving on the other side of the river. We are deindustrializing, and those well-paid jobs and those skills go off to India, go off to China. China. Sorry. Can't help it sometimes, you know. And so steel is made under lower environmental standards than here, and then the product is shipped back to us. And it's the same with gas that we need to burn to back up when the wind turbines aren't working. There's a massive gas field in Lincolnshire. Should we not produce our own steel? Should we not produce our own gas? Should we not produce our own oil? Should we not encourage new technologies and old technologies? But why don't we start to put the interests of our country and our people and start putting Britain first with absolutely everything? Now, there is so much more, of course, that needs to be done. But I'll tell you this. In some ways, we are the most realistic group of people in the country. We recognize that, frankly, the country and its values and that everything it's ever stood for is going down the tubes. We know it. And I think many of us fear that if we don't bring back decent values and decent standards and make youngsters understand that actually hard work is a good thing, that success is a good thing, that making money is a good thing, and that a country needs to have successful people to pay for all the public services that we all want. A total change of culture and thought is needed across everything in this country. The principles of right and wrong need to be retaught in schools and elsewhere. How can it be acceptable? How can it be acceptable to shoplift up to 200 quid's worth of goods and not be prosecuted? It's not acceptable. It's not acceptable. So there is so much that we have to do. I said on the 3rd of June, with just 4 weeks and 3 days to go until the general election, I said that what we'd do is we'd get millions of votes and we would establish a beachhead in Parliament. I don't think the press corps in the room believed me, but we did get over 4 million votes 105 MPs elected on the 4th of July. And in theory, the Conservatives are His Majesty's loyal opposition. I tell you something, our 5 MPs have made more impact than the 121 Conservative MPs ever have in their lives. We're doing it. And around the rest of the country, our poll numbers have gone up. And have a look at our membership. The one where Kemi Badenoch said I was fixing the figures. We're now 217,000 members and rising by 1,000 a day. And that is funding our activities. That is funding events like this. It's all feeding on itself. And here in Hull and East Yorkshire, in these 6 parliamentary constituencies that cover the area over which the mayoral contest will take place, in the general election, we averaged 23%. Not bad for a start. Do you know where we are now? We're on 32%, and we'd win Hull East, and we'd win other seats if the election was tomorrow. So we're making amazing progress, and you're helping us do it. But I think above all, the reason is, as I said to you earlier, we're the most realistic about the mess we're in, but we're also the most optimistic, because we believe that human beings, given the right leadership, will change their attitudes, will change their behaviours. And actually, we are the most optimistic political party in Britain. We believe we can make history. We believe we can prove everybody wrong. We believe we can win the next general election and turn this country around. We do. We do. I'm sure some of the media are skeptical, but let's hear. Can we win the next election, guys? Now, to do that, we've got some hurdles to jump. And the first big hurdle occurs on May the 1st, when many parts of the country will be holding county council elections. Oh, apart from the ones they've cancelled. In counties like Essex, where they feared we might win. So 5.5 million people have been denied the vote, and we're told it could even be delayed until 2028. And this is at the connivance of the Labour and Conservative parties. I believe in democracy. I believe in elections. Shame on them. But here in Hull and East Yorkshire, or the East Riding, for those of you that are more traditional, see a few nods here. You do have the first mayoral contest for this area will take place. And we know who's standing. We know the Conservatives, the Lib Dems, who've done well in Hull lately for reasons that are completely beyond me. So we know it'll be the usual list of runners and riders. But the new kids on the block are Reform. In a moment, you're going to see who our candidate is. We've kept it secret up until this moment in time. Poor old Michelle Dewberry at GB News has been getting about 500 texts a day. It's not her. It's not her. Great though she is. I love Michelle. She's wonderful, but it's not her. No, we're about to present to you a young man, Hull born and bred, very proud of who he is, of what he is, his family, his community, his country, all the things that we in Reform believe in. And I'm going to leave the stage now. I'm going to show you a video of who this candidate is. He's then going to come and see you. I promise you, this is a very special moment in British politics. This is a new departure. This is the politics of optimism, of energy. I'll leave you and be back in a few moments.
It was so incredible to represent my country at the highest level in boxing.
We've got a real chance here for British boxing of a crossover superstar. He appeals to that mainstream audience. He's already won the gold medal. He's the most successful amateur ever in British boxing, and the people at Hull are really coming out.
I've been at the highest levels of the amateurs, the highest levels of professional. One of the proudest moments in my life was coming home after the Olympics, seeing all the people that turned out for me. It's the first time ever where the country just come together as one. Everyone was friendly, everyone would stop and sing along with randomers about the Olympics and someone winning, and it was amazing. Hull's really good when they get behind their own and cheer for their own. It's a great city filled with great people. I'm proud of who I am, where I come from and what I do and what we represent. I want to be mayor of Hull because I want to represent the people in the right way. I want to do it for my family, I want to do it for the community, and I want to do it for my country and fight for the people of this city. That's what I want to do now. I want to commit my time to making this place a better place.
And now, ladies and gentlemen, the son of Hull, England, Luke Campbell!
Thank you for the warm welcome. Yes, cheers. I mean, how do I top Nigel Farage? That's some going. That's it. So, I was going to say, for those that don't know who I am, let me tell you a little bit about myself and why I want to run for mayor for Hull and East Yorkshire. That's it. So I'm a Hull lad, born and bred. Love and proud of this city. I was brought up just off the streets of Boulevard in the Westall area. I had a good upbringing, struggled in school, in the industry in school. I was dyslexic, so I struggled to read and write. But it never stopped me, and it never holding me back from anything I wanted to do. Thank you. As a young lad growing up, my father got ill when I was a young lad. I need to see my mum going out and being the workhorse for the family, having to provide for us all, work all hours just to put food on the table, clothes on our back. I had a good upbringing though. I had great friends in the street who are still here with me today. I started boxing at the age of 13. When I first walked into the gym, I said to the coach, how many rounds are they doing on the bag? And he said 3. So I said, 3, that's easy. I thought it was 12. Well, I found out very quickly them 3 rounds was much harder than I thought. 12 weeks later, I had my first boxing bout. Wasn't quite sure what I was getting into, but I went in and got beat. I got beat in my second fight as well, so not a great start. But then I had 2 fights and won them both. And then I went on a 5-fight losing streak. And I finished my first year of boxing with 10 fights, 3 wins and 7 losses. But I kept going, I kept my head down, I kept working hard, and I believed in myself. 12 years from then, I was stepping onto the Olympic podium and I was getting a gold medal put around my neck. I was the #1 in the world, and at that moment in time I thought to myself, why me? Why did I deserve this? And I look back from the beginning of my career, all the upsetments, all the losses, the resilience that I needed to build. That's what got me there. But leaving the Olympic Village that day, something very special happened to me. I got greeted home and welcomed by 20,000 people, which still gets me today. But I'm not going to cry. It was one of the best moments of my life, something I will never forget. But from that day, everything changed for me. People looked at me as a role model. They said I was an ambassador for the city and how I'd put Hull on the map and how I inspired the next generation. So moving on to the role of the mayor, I had to really think hard about whether I wanted to take this or not. But the more I sat and thought about it, the more I got excited. I got excited for the reason why, what I could do for my community. How can I put the people of Hull and East Yorkshire first? That's what really inspired me to be stood on this stage today. Thank you. I'm not going to stand on this stage and pretend I'm a politician, because I'm certainly not. The mayor's role, for me, isn't about playing politics. It's about being a voice for Hull and East Yorkshire, about being a voice for the people. It's about putting the people first. You lot inspired me. You lot gave everything to me. This city made me. It gave me everything. It gave me grit, gave me heart, and it gave me spirit. Now it's my turn to give it back. This city is a proud place that backs its people and believes in its future. We all have a choice. We can either sit down or stand up. We can stand up for our families. We can stand up for our community. And we can stand up for our future. I want to give the people of Hull and East Yorkshire a real fighting chance. I want to be held accountable for real change. So let's all stand up. Let's fight for real change. Let me be your voice, and I'll show you all change. I promise that. I promise. Thank you. Thank you.
Fantastic. Fantastic. What a guy! What a guy! Ladies and gentlemen, the only hint I gave about this, I did in a press interview say he'd be a knockout candidate. And it's the first time Luke's ever been in public on a stage like this before and in the ring without anybody punching him. How about that? I think what Luke has done in deciding to stand says a huge amount about him and a huge amount about us as a political party. We're going to do things differently. We're not career politicians. We're people prepared to stand up with grit and determination and fight for our communities. And you know something? This guy can win, can't he?
Yeah.
But he's only going to win if we put together in Hull and East Yorkshire a people's army behind him. We need you to put posters in your windows. We need you to deliver leaflets in your streets. We need you to tell your friends and neighbours that this is something new and exciting and different that perhaps really can put Hull firmly, properly, strongly on the map. We need somebody You need somebody with guts. You need somebody with courage. Boy, he's got plenty of that, hasn't he?
Right.
You know, and that story, Luke, about losing 7 of the first 10 fights, but not giving up, isn't that kind of the message, folks, we need to inspire young people with all over our country? So we need you to help us. And wherever you go, wherever you socialise, tell people there's something new, different, exciting going to happen here on May the 1st, and be a part of it. Go around the pubs and campaign. That's my advice to all of you. Yeah. Do whatever you have to do. But please, please, are you all prepared in whatever way you can to make some contribution to help this man win on May the 1st? Brilliant. Well, we'll be writing to all of you after this evening. Thank you for coming in such magnificent numbers. I know the traffic was awful, the queues were long, but you're here. I hope you believe it was worth it. We certainly have been honoured, Luke, to have this number of people here. I'll be back between now and May the 1st to help this man. We'll email you. We'll ask you to tell us what you can do to help this guy win. And I tell you what, he is the champ, isn't he? Thank you very much, everybody. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Let me say yeah.